Support for NPR and the following message come from IXL Learning. IXL Learning uses advanced algorithms to give the right help to each kid no matter the age or personality. Get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when you sign up today at IXL.com/NPR.
Hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. Ramteen, welcome back to It's Been a Minute.
Happy to be back, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
So, riddle me this, okay? You have a public-facing job as the host of NPR's Throughline podcast. You are also a musician who's been on tour in the past. So I'm curious, if you had the choice to go viral, would you want to? Yes or no?
I can definitively say, hell no. No way. Absolutely not.
I don't know. The thing about virality is it doesn't seem to pay off.
Not always.
Not always. But for me, if it paid off, like for someone like Jules LeBron, you know, like the woman who's very demure, very mindful, very demure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she's a homeowner.
Yeah.
And I am not.
And I am not either. I'm not either. I would take the money. I always tell people when they ask me, what kind of celebrity would you want to be?
Rich and unknown.
That's ideal celebrity. And I think the other part of it for me is like many other people who are like artists who make music or journalists, I'm sensitive. When randos just pile on top of you,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think I'd want to be subjected to that.
I could see that. I think for the right price, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, your skin gets real thick when the paycheck is like...
For the right price, I wouldn't mind it. I could handle that. Is it just Ramteen and me, or do you all agree that it's getting a little brutal out here? Y'all know that online hate is nothing new, but what does feel new is the hate's target. All things cringe. And when we're talking about ragging on cringe culture, we mean this general tendency to dunk on people for doing something pretty innocuous or acting in a way that makes people, for whatever reason, cringe. And it's having a real impact on how we all move through the world. The other day, the poet and professor Ocean Vuong was talking about how his students are so worried about being perceived as cringe, they're scared to take risks in their writing.
They would say, I want to be a poet, I want to be a good writer, but it's a bit cringe, right? This cringe culture is that I don't want to be perceived as trying. And so, in fact, they perform cynicism because cynicism can be misread, as it often is, as intelligence. You know, you're disaffected, you're too cool, you've seen it all.
So, you know, I cannot help but ask, is cringe culture poisoning our appreciation of things? Is it sucking out the joy? And even if someone is a little bit cringe, do we have to tear each other down over it? So today, Ramteen and I are getting into the rise of cringe culture. And to do that, Ramteen is taking us through a story of viral online hate. And you know what? You be the judge, and you let me know how cringe all of this really is. Let's get into it. You recently talked with a formerly unknown musician who went viral earlier this year, and the internet went after this guy. Tell me what happened to Brendan Abernathy.
So Brendan Abernathy is a singer-songwriter from Texas. Like any other musician, he wanted to be famous, right?
Right.
Anyway, he posted this video several months ago of himself performing at like a local place, like acoustic, just him and his guitar, and he's out in the crowd, and they're all surrounding him with like the lighting is provided by cameras lighting, right?
Like cell phone cameras.
Exactly. He has no shoes on.
Yeah.
And the song, it's about, the lyrics are basically, you'll be married in a year in the suburbs and a kid on the way in 3.
I know the song.
You know, right? We all know it.
Married in a year.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a
Kid on the way in 3.
Convincing yourself you're living the American dream.
I can't stand on my tiptoes, so I'm not getting the same effect as Brendan.
So anyway, he puts this song out and it goes viral. He goes from basically no one knowing who he is to overnight, within like a week or two, having millions of people see this video. And the reaction was brutal. I can tell you what my initial reaction was when I saw it. So when I first saw it, I was triggered the way a lot of other people were. I think by two things. One, by the music, and then also by the lyrics, because I am married and living in the suburbs and I have a kid. And I'm like, yo, is this about me? So, am I that guy? And so I think on some level, I also was like, ooh. But after like looking at the comments for maybe like a day or two, I started to get angry on this guy's behalf because to me, it felt like straightforward bullying.
Well, yeah. And also he just made a little song. Like it's all people do on TikTok anyway.
Yeah. And then after I listened to it, I was like, I actually don't think this is that bad.
My husband and I both had this same exact thought. We were like, this guy would have killed it back in the day on VH1. Back when they used to be like Edwin McCain and Sean Colvin. Yeah. This song would have ate down. Like, I actually thought that the reason, to me, part of the reason why it went viral was because it's a pretty well-written hook that's very catchy, you know?
Very catchy. The melody is great.
Okay, so Ramteen, you actually talked to Brendan. You talked to him recently after the dust had settled on all of this. How has he been processing everything?
I have to say, he surprised me with a couple things. He was so introspective and self-aware. Like he, I think, really understood the ramifications and the scope of what he went through. But to be very honest with you, I think it really messed up his confidence. It messed up the way he viewed himself. And he made that really clear to me when I talked to him.
It was really hard. Also, some of it was really funny. And I can recognize both of those things at the same time.
Well, what parts of it were hard? Like
people were treating me like I'm selling out stadiums. Like
what do you mean by
I'm struggling to sell 100 tickets and people are are acting like I'm like some massive industry plant who they can just like tear down. It's like, you can't tear me down, guys. I'm poor. Like I lived out of my car for 4 years. You can't really tear me down any more than I'm already down. You hope for a long time that you're going to get a breakthrough into just more ears having an opportunity to hear your music. And then when it happens and you're getting mocked, laughed at, told to take your own life, whatever, it's just really confusing because everything that I know about myself and my music, the internet is saying the polar opposite of that. If you searched my name on TikTok, the third result was Brendan Abernathy fake. That's what hurt the most, was that everything I've built my life on, which is being authentic and being vulnerable, I was being viewed the complete opposite of that. That's what hurt. And most people who reacted negatively, it created this, cringe.
That exactly was my problem with it. And what I thought as I watched that is, you're the one putting yourself out there. You're the one taking the risk. It's not easy to put music out or expression, your art out in the world. That's not easy. And a lot of people wish they could do it and don't do it, right? Because they either don't have the guts or they're just riddled in so much self-doubt, which I understand. And I think what it exemplifies for me is this like cringe culture, or this idea that like someone puts something out there, you don't like it, and it's somehow we're all entitled to gang up and make fun of that person if someone has deemed it as cringe.
Dang.
I think the level of the vitriol shocked him. And I get it. For years, you dream of becoming successful and for everyone to know your name and your music. And the way they're introduced to it is the internet. As someone wrote on one of the kind of parody pages, I'm so happy that we could all unite around hating this guy's music.
But that brings me back to this word that each of you use.
Yes.
And that's cringe. Which, just as a side note, for me personally, I attribute the rise of cringe to the popularity of UK's Love Island in like the 2010s.
Everything comes back to Love Island.
Love Island, everything. But on the show, it basically meant like, if someone was coming on a little too earnest or a little too strong, it's like being cringe or cringy. Now, outside of the context of Love Island or dating, like anything that's too earnest, too on the nose, too sappy, something that makes you feel like a little, it just makes you feel squirmy. It makes you squirm. I don't know. That's how I think of it. But how would you define cringe? And what do you think it is that people are cringing at when it comes to Brendan and people who are releasing these kinds of earnest missives out into the world like him?
I think it's kind of a callback to another era in
Middle school?
American culture. For us, it would have been middle school, but I think it's the 90s, the mid 90s, the era of grunge, the era of the kind of response to, you know, big hair metal of the 1980s or the more ostentatious pop music of the 80s. That's
The
just the
decade of
Nirvana.
irony.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we both grew up in a time where it was like not cool to try.
Oh, yeah.
Or try hard. So the terms that were used then were lame, corny, poser. Yes. It was all about authenticity and like, you know, wanting to always appear to not want it too much. I think like Kurt Cobain is a great example of that.
Yeah.
He created an image around himself and, you know, the people who work with him created an image that he like didn't want success and that it kind of was like hoisted upon him because he's so talented. But then in the years after, if you read any interviews with people who knew him, they were like, he would tell record label people, we want to be as big as the Beatles. And so that image belies that underneath that, he was an ambitious musician who wanted to be famous. So I think Cringe is really, like many other things, cyclical, right? It's a callback to that time where someone trying hard or being earnest is like being a poser or lame or corny. The language has changed, but the sentiment is a is basically a callback or a cycle back to that time, in my opinion.
That's very interesting. And that feels also like a direct kind of refutation of like kind of Obama era 2012, 2008, like woke earnestness.
Yes.
It's like the pendulum has swung back in the other direction.
Yes, the time of great possibilities. And in a way, his music, Brendan's music, also calls back to that time, right? It sounds like a lot of music from that time. There was nothing worse than being called a poser when we were young. And I think there's nothing worse than being called cringe today for young people.
Ooh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Coming up, where does that judgmental impulse come from?
Our judgment comes out based out of our own sense of inadequacy.
And Brendan debuts a brand new song right here on this podcast after a quick break.
This message comes from Sony Pictures Classics with East of Wall, written and directed by Kate Beecroft, an authentic portrait of female cowgirls and their resilience in the New West. Set in South Dakota's Badlands, it follows a rebellious young rancher who rescues horses and shelters wayward teens while navigating grief, family tensions, and the looming loss of her land. Now playing only in theaters. This message comes from FX's Alien Earth. From creator Noah Hawley and executive producer Ridley Scott comes the first television series inspired by the legendary Alien film franchise. A spaceship crash lands on Earth, bringing 5 unique and deadly species, more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. And a technological advancement marks a new dawn in the race for immortality. FX's Alien Earth. All new Tuesdays on FX and Hulu. This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, how you invest is your choice, not theirs. That's why when it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices. You can invest and trade on your own. Plus, get advice and more comprehensive wealth solutions to help meet your unique needs. With award-winning service, low costs, and transparent advice, you can manage your wealth your way at Schwab. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
Where does that judgmental impulse come from? Why do we all, on some level, do that? Why do we all want to judge so quickly like that?
I think we judge, our judgment comes out based out of our own sense of inadequacy. I can say personally, I used to be more triggered by that when I wasn't trying myself. Like when I felt like I had some creativity inside me that was not being put out in the world, I wanted to immediately tear down somebody who I saw doing it. I wasn't consciously trying to be negative, but perhaps that feeling maybe comes from the fact that I don't have the guts to do it myself.
That's a word. That's a word.
And today, because of social media and the anonymity it provides, the distance it provides, it's just much easier to go hard. Like, oh, this sucks. This is trash. You suck.
See, here's the thing, though, I think about with this. Like, I think that cringe and virality, though, I think they go hand in hand. Like, I don't know. When I think of Cringe these days, I also think of the bank,
Yeah.
like take Doja Cat, for example. She got kicked off as a star for this wonderfully tacky Moo song where she's, dressed up as a cow. The lyrics are so goofy and simplistic. At that point, she was already like a musician who had put out an album before. Like, she had been working for a while, and that weird ass Moo video and song were the thing that caused her to take off. I mean, it was maybe not what she had hoped to become famous for, but she was able to kind of like redirect the narrative of herself as an artist. And now she's like nearly as big as you can get as an international pop star today.
Yep.
I mean, to a certain degree, also, like all these people who might be trying to tear Brendan down, or who are, maybe making parody videos that might feel a little mean-spirited, at the end of the day, they're kind of just making him even more famous. You know what I mean? We're talking about him right now. And I doubt that, we would be if that video had not taken off in the way that it did and had so many people latched onto that sound on TikTok and used it.
Yep.
You kind of can't pull those two things apart necessarily. Like, virality doesn't necessarily equal money. But Brandon does have at least something out there about himself. And one of his songs is a lot more well-known than maybe he had ever anticipated it being this early in his career.
Yeah. Okay. If we live in a world in which like all publicity is good publicity, right? Like that whole saying is true. And I think many people can argue it is true. It's like, what is that? Where is the selection? We're selecting for people who see money opportunity in being made fun of and can like flip and turn that. And on one side, I can see that being admirable, but I can also see that being the kind of traits of a sociopath. Do we have a future of like, sociopathic adjacent people becoming successful, and then the sensitive souls who aren't as cynical about the world basically being washed away by this like wave of hatred?
I mean, is that the future or is that now?
Yeah, well, okay, there you go. I don't know. Like, those who dare to cringe would be the ones who are great.
Yes,
right?
no.
That's a positive way of viewing it.
That is like a bastardization of a Theodore Roosevelt quote about like those who get in the ring, who dare greatly, who get down in the ring and fight. Well, it's all about daring greatly as opposed to like specifically achieving one thing or another. Like maybe it's those who dare to be cringe, what I'm saying, that actually
the world,
achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
The world belongs to those who dare to be cringe.
The cringe will inherit the earth. Yeah.
The cringe will inherit the earth. I'm going to keep that in mind when it's time for me to make my first TikTok and I'm like crying on the inside. I want to crawl out of my skin. I'm going to remember that.
I think the last thing I'll say on that is Brendan, he also didn't back down, right? Like he didn't disappear. Naturally, the next question I had is like, coming out of this experience, like how is it affecting your art, your music? And then he offered to play a song for me that he wrote about this experience. And it's not always like easy when someone tells you they're going to pick up an acoustic guitar and tells you they're going to play a song, right? Like they're sitting there playing the song. This is on video. I'm like, do I look at this guy, make eye contact? Where do I look? So it was awkward, right?
What do I do?
But I leaned into the awkwardness just like he did.
I'll tell you my stories, tell you my secrets. I see it as strength, you feel it as weakness. And how'd you disassociate? Smoke and drink and fuck that pain. I wish that I was half the man you ain't. And if only you could know me, but you don't wanna know me. I could walk another mile, can't step into your shoes myself. I can't turn the other cheek, can't go on and abuse myself. You hate me 'cause you hate yourself. You hate yourself. What if I was cold and hardened? What if we met party? What if I was right in front of you? All the dreamers, all the martyrs, one day it could be your daughter. God, I hope she's far in front of you. But I can't wake you up, and I can't make you stop it. I don't even understand. But I will walk another mile. I'll step into your shoes myself. And I will turn the other cheek. I will go off and abuse myself. You hate me 'cause you hate yourself.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be honest, it was emotional. You know, in the chorus, he says that line, "You hate me because you hate yourself."
Mm-hmm.
And I think I didn't, like, I felt the cringe initially because I don't like the part of myself necessarily that he was poking at there. I don't like the part of myself that hasn't put music out in, like, what, 10 years almost. And what I found after talking to him and looking at the situation differently is, like, maybe I can, like, love myself by loving him. And maybe cringe culture, if we, like, let it go a little bit, maybe we could be a little nicer to ourselves. I know that that's maybe cringe itself to say that, but this idea that, you know, we should dislike something for being earnest is like we dislike the earnestness in ourselves. And that is kind of sad because I think more of us would be served by being more honest and more earnest about what we want, what we feel about other people and about things we like, and not feeling like we have to hold back.
Ramteen, this was such a beautiful journey. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me share it with you, Brittany. It was an awesome journey for me, and I'm really happy we got to talk about it.
That was Ramteen Arablouei. He's the host of NPR's Throughline podcast. And I'm going to put on my influencer hat for a second and ask you to please subscribe to this show on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening. Click follow so you know the latest in culture while it's still hot. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Barton Girdwood.
This episode was edited by
Nina Pathak.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Jerry. Many people overpay for car insurance because switching feels like too much hassle. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/NPR today. This message comes from NPR sponsor Thrive Market. It's back to school season, aka snack packing, lunch making, schedule juggling season. Thrive Market's back to school sale is a great way to stock up this month with 25% off family favorites. Easily filter by allergy or lifestyle to find kid-approved snack packs, organic dinner staples, and more, all delivered to your door. Go to thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.